Content over everything.
Well,
not really. We'll catch up. That's first space right now. So we'll see what happens. Should have been doing that a long time ago, not wait for us to do something about it. Now it's called taking leave, but it's not been given back to us.
My name is Swazi. Can you hear me? You sure? Good, good, good. My name is Swazi and I'm a volunteer. And I'm more than happy, and it's a real privilege to open up this rally, I suppose, and introduce some incredible, incredible speakers. But before we do, I just thought I'd give a bit of a background and a bit of a story as to why we are here. So you ready for a bit of a story? Okay, this is how it goes. There once lived many aliens amongst people. At the best of times, these aliens and people were civil, and at the worst of times, there was a great divide. But then came one particular night where the magnifying glass rested upon this divide for London and the world to see. On the 14th of June 2017, a tower block home to hundreds of people and familiar to hundreds of aliens, suffered a great fire, taking families, homes, and an entire community. The people, oh my gosh, the people surged down, but the aliens, they scattered. Until last Tuesday, the very same people met with these aliens in their own home at Parliament. I'm going to stand over here to continue this story. And over the conversation and a cheeky slice of lemon drizzle cake, many aliens came face to face with those same people whose lives have been shattered by the Grenfell Tower fire. And as they listened to these stories, boom, these aliens turned into people. You see, these aliens had eyes and ears and hands and feet. But it was only until they heard their stories did their eyes begin to see, their ears begin to hear, their hands and feet begin to move. And these aliens had hearts that then began to feel. Today marks the 11th month anniversary of the Grenfell Tower fire. And we are here to support GU, Grenfell United. And of course, the result from aliens feeling created people that then put the pressure upon the Prime Minister, and she granted the request for a panel to sit alongside the inquiry. And it was that, yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. Huge news. And also sparked by the many signatures, the thousands of signatures that went towards that petition. So ladies and gentlemen, you are here for a very, very special cause, supporting some incredible people, and it's in the spirit of Grenfell United, with their dignity, with their strength, with their power, that we stand. So let's try and put some of the politics aside and walk in step as we journey towards justice. Is that good? Is that good? Yes. Okay, we have got an incredible list of incredible people to be speaking to you. Without further ado, please put your hands together from Deborah from Inquest.
Thank you, and thanks for asking me to speak. I want to just pay tribute to the strength, solidarity, and the amazing commitment of bereaved survivors and those affected by Grenfell. We know this is a really shocking story of injustice. We know this was a preventable tragedy, and we know that people around the country are still living in conditions that could result in another fire happening. What we have done as a small charity that works around state-related deaths is to try and ensure that the rights and dignity of bereaved people are respected and upheld during the legal processes and throughout the inquiry, and that three key objectives are met: truth, justice and accountability. And when we talk about those three objectives, of course what we mean, and I think this is an aspiration of everybody who is involved, is that this must never happen again. We worked with the Hillsborough families and their lawyers, and what we know is that in order not to have to wait for nearly three decades for justice, there are things that an inquiry needs to do. There has to be parity of funding for families. As we know, there are going to be unlimited resources and funds for the state and corporate lawyers during that inquiry. We need to have transparency. We need to have the diversity of a panel regarding different insights and experiences and culture. And it shows last week's amazing lobbying of MPs shows what happens when the human stories actually inform the parliamentary process. We also need a venue that's accessible to those affected, not just for the convenience of lawyers. We need to have full disclosure of information and the right of the family lawyers to question witnesses. We also need to ensure that there are effective recommendations for change, and we already know some of those recommendations that need to be made now to protect other people living in dangerous tower blocks around the country. But I think what is so outrageous is that it should not have been left to traumatised and grieving people to actually get the inquiry to perform its really vital function, because this isn't just an inquiry for the benefit of the bereaved and survivors and those affected, it's benefit to the whole of our society. And this will be one of the most significant inquiries of modern times. And we need to make sure that it properly asks some of these questions. Firstly, what went wrong? Why were warnings ignored and recommendations from previous fire deaths not implemented? We need to ask the question about who made decisions that saving money was more important than saving lives. We also must make sure that this inquiry leads to meaningful recommendations that must be acted upon. So just in conclusion, to say that Inquest will work alongside everybody who's fighting for the truth, and we will try and make sure that justice is not only done, but also must be seen to be done in the pursuit of truth, justice and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Put your hands together one more time for Deborah. Thank you so much, Deborah. Next up, we have Clary from Humanity for Grenfell.
Well, everybody, today is a very historical day. I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out here in support of GU and in solidarity. This has not been an easy journey. We're here today on the 11th anniversary. We've not asked for much, just our basic human rights. And yet we've been having to find ourselves begging, frustration. We've had the signatures. Everyone has appealed to this lady. As you can see, this is a shame she felt the other day. And I'm going to send her this t-shirt as well to remind her. Because what the world needs today, and what we need today as a community, nothing more than humanity. We are one. We're not divided. There's many groups, but we all have the same agenda, and we are all working in unison. Okay, that's why we're here. And we are here until we get justice. This is not an overnight thing. This is not a road for the swift. But guess what? We asked for something, and as humans, we've demanded something, and it's our rights. It's our basic human rights. So the fight goes on until we get it. And pray to God, there are human beings that can convey this message to some of the androids out there. Okay? So God bless us all. Big up GU, big up Adele, big up Sandra, big up Kareem, everybody who's put this petition together. and everybody who started and supported. And if we don't get what we want today, we might have to be back here very soon. But also, the march is tonight from the Methodist Church. So come one and come all, because the fight doesn't stop, champ. This is just the beginning of the chapter. Thank you all.
Thank you, Clary. You thought that this rally was going to be our usual rally. You were wrong. You were wrong. This rally is not the same rally. We have got some poetry in the house. So please put your hands together for Sharifa. Yeah. There she is. Keep it warm when she comes to the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The first piece that I wrote it a couple of months, just 8 weeks after the fire. And I think one thing that's really important, like as well as the processes and everything that's taken place, you know, we can't forget certain ways that the council have acted or treated people. And this piece is called Dignity for the Living. 14th June 2017, Grenfell Tower burned to smithereens, engulfing hesitant souls, faces filled with fear, displacing hundreds walking around like lost children. The aftermath of what unravelled must never be forgotten. The negligence, the cruelty, the lack of humanity, the closed cohorts discussing housing, belligerent and disgruntled, displeased with their own decisions, creating perceived nuisance. People who'd climbed and crawled down 21 flights of stairs. People who'd been horrified when stepping over limbs of beloved family members and neighbours. Mothers whose front doors had closed with no key, in agony for no help coming to help their children escape. Men unable to sleep, haunted by the faces of neighbours whose resting place was their long-lived-in bedroom. Treated with no courtesy or remorse from authorities, expecting these same traumatised, shaken, vulnerable people to patiently await a new home while sleeping on the 17th floor of the Hilton. Children frightened when the height of their room feels like a skyscraper. Panicking when hearing the sound of a fire engine in the distance. Closing their eyes to escape their reality. Reoccurringly seeing smoke filling their room, a diabolic shambles. 11 months later, expected to happily live with clothes and toiletries out of cardboard boxes. Survivors resisting and asking questions, stress levels, high blood pressure creating heart problems. Waiting for solace, praying for some form of grounding, attempting to relax, provide safety for their disorientated children. Demanding one's basic rights, dignity for their families, neighbours and parents. Council doors closing in the faces of residents. Poor coordination. Key workers on holiday. No priority pass even if you're a survivor from the fire. Continuation of negligence and irritation. Many in and out of mental health hospitals, frustrated on the verge of probation or incarceration. Many suicide attempts. No haste for those who lost their will to live. Life turned upside down in one night. Campfires and bonfire night being a clear avoidance. Many insensitive towards the depth of the trauma. The feeling of injustice when hearing news one wishes was a rumour. Bodies unidentified. Identifiable bodies delayed in being handed over. Expectations of going back to everyday life. This isn't just disappear when turning around the corner. Thank you. So as sick as they are being responsible for what's happened, they're not even treating people that survived, people who still have life, they're not treating them with the respect that they deserve. So they must be held accountable for this as well as all the lives that have been lost. And the next piece I'm going to share with you, it's about somebody who's very close to me, who's from the walkways. A lot of the time, you know, people only hear, or a lot of the media's focus on in one part of the story. And there's a lot of people like this, people that are traumatized, that have to see the tower every day. There's so many different pieces of this horror, like so many people have been affected, and there's other people that are in hotels as well that people have kind of forgotten about. And we must do what we can to support them as well as the residents of Grenfell. Perseverance personified, the epitome of daring the world to hold her down. She stands bold and brave, staring the world in the face, challenging it to break her down. Strike one, displacement. 11 months later, still getting taxi cabs back to her hotel and not her flat. No environment to create a home. Her OCD kicking in. Let me clean my own room and will you knock? What time is this? 11:30 PM for a cleaner to come and clean her room. Thank you for washing my clothes. Saves me a trip to the laundrette. It's the least they can do. She breathes in, trying to keep her cool, feeling isolated and claustrophobic within the confines of her room. She wanted to be back with the familiarity of home. Now the walkways are a ghost town. There's an eerie silence in the corridors, the usual chatter of the neighbours, the wheels of a buggy squeaking on the wet floor are nowhere to be heard. The forgotten ones. Many think of Grenfell only remembering residents and survivors of the tower, unmindful of the ripple effect. Those who had debris sprawled on the laminate and carpet in their homes. Those who were evacuated onto the streets in barely a vest and pyjama bottoms. Those who'd barred shoulders with firemen, adamant to get inside a building, dialing call after call. No answer with loved ones still sleeping. The forgotten displaced ones. The ones on waiting lists at the bottom of a pile. No concern for the elderly at risk of becoming senile. Those who observe from afar may assume life went back to normal. This was far from the truth. Strike 2. No option given to change hotel rooms when the new year kicked in. Not being understood when demanding a healthy physical change, as though her cries at night were not enough. She was finally admitted after a long waiting list for a foot operation. She had gone back to the studio, back to business as usual weeks after the fire. They cannot steal my sanity, my safe haven, continuing to breathe life into her projects, into her vision, pulling others up beside her. Disheartened, grieving young people. Keep painting, keep drawing, keep designing, keep exhibiting, keep writing, keep photographing. If only she knew how much she inspired. This woman who contained many medicines, just watching her drive would snap anyone out of a self-sabotaging daydream. Many never saw her many struggles, only saw her smiles, never saw the silhouettes and memories of home etched in her eyes, the memories of playing on the estate since she was a child. Strike 3. There's a fire in her belly, a fire she put out with water, a fire they carved out and removed of her gallbladder, a fire she didn't want to know anymore. They want us to be angry, they want us to be so mad, they want us to fight. She didn't want to fight their fight no more. She wanted to fight for her own space, for her precious time, for her vision, for her goals, for the value of her life, for her right to live, for her health, for her dignity. Perseverance personified. Thank you very much.
Sharifa. One more time for Sharifa. Thank you so much. Those words, so powerful. We are about to take a very short break, so please do not go anywhere. We've got some incredible speakers still lined up for you, but a 5-minute break or so and we'll meet right back here.
Okay, let's get everybody going. Justice for Grenfell! Justice for Grenfell!
Justice for Grenfell!
Justice for Grenfell!
Justice for Grenfell!
Justice for Grenfell!
Justice for Grenfell!
Justice for Grenfell!
Good job, brother.
No justice!
You got to be out here, fam.
No justice, no peace!
Do your thing, do your thing.
Yeah, man, I've got people out here supporting Grenfell today. Justice for Grenfell, trying to unite the people, get some money sorted for these people that ain't been looked after, man. It's the 11th month in. Next month is the anniversary of the whole tragedy, and yeah, man, these people are still suffering. I'm disappointed that they're suffering still. I don't think, to get me, like, to what's happened, I don't think it should be taking so long to deal with these families, get them out of the hotels, put them in the housing. Like I say, man, priorities just fucked up out here.
Was health and safety gone mad.
What I saw was the system, man. They know the system. You know how the system works.
We call it
to affect anything, you got to affect their FTSE 100. You get me? You got to make them man there come off their yachts, off their expensive jets. You've got to hit them where it hurts. And until you're hitting them in the pocket, they don't care about all these things really. To be truthful, like they're not gonna care.
For Grenfell!
Like we're here, they're in there, bro. They don't care. They're not even looking out the window. That's how bad it is. They're not even looking out the window. They're not even looking out the window. They do not care. So this is all good, but consistency, innit? That's what's needed, consistency. Until the man off his yacht is coming off his yacht, the man on his jet is diverting and coming back because he needs to come and talk here. Whoever needs to come and talk, whichever higher power you are, you're who we need to come for. This is all good, this is all love, this is sharing family, this is all networking, but it's not a solution. It ain't a solution. But yeah, big up content over everything. You don't know the time already.
Come on. I know, fam.
I don't believe that people who've been through what they've been through should have to even organise this rally and vigil today, because these things, especially when you've been through what you've been through, should come to you as of right. You shouldn't have to fight for these things. But I do know that when you do have to fight for things, you'll still fight for things. And I was on the radio this morning, and the radio presenter on LBC asked me, why is this debate still going ahead this afternoon? And I said, well, it's going ahead because the survivors and the bereaved families in the community want it to go ahead, but it's also going ahead because this isn't a done deal yet. This isn't finished yet. There's further questions which need to be answered. For example, the question about phase 2 and phase 1 of the inquiry. Why is it the case that the panel will only be sitting in regard to phase 2 of the inquiry? And what if there's going to be an overlap and they need to ask questions about phase 1? There's also questions to be asked about the disclosure of documentation and evidence. It's been quoted to me that 99.5% of the evidence has still not been seen by the lawyers representing the survivors and the bereaved families. So there's all sorts of questions that need to be asked. And I think what the lesson of the last few months is that we can't just assume that those at the top who have been given the power under the Inquiries Act 2005, the Prime Minister, we can't assume that they'll automatically do the right thing without you making your voices heard loud and clear. So I just want to finish by saying you've inspired so many people, and not just the 150,000 people who signed your petition. You've inspired people the length and breadth of this country, but also round the world, because when they see your struggle for justice, a struggle you shouldn't have to be waging, by the way, they feel inspired in their own struggles as well. So thank you for what you've done, congratulations for what you've done, and in our own way we'll continue to help in whatever we can in terms of you achieving your objective of justice for Grenfell. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Justice for Grenfell! Justice for Grenfell! Justice for Grenfell! Justice for Grenfell! No justice! No justice! No justice! What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Justice for Grenfell! Justice for Grenfell! Justice for Grenfell! No justice! No justice! No justice! Justice for Grenfell.
Thank you, Moira. Another really special message next. Come a long way, but we're really blessed to have her on. Please put your hands together for Joanna Cherry from the SNP.
Thanks very much. Well, I haven't actually come that long away because during the week I live in Lambeth now. But anyway, I just want to say on behalf of the Scottish National Party that your campaign has our full support. Last summer, when we had the big debate in Westminster about the scope of the inquiry on the 12th of July, what's that, almost a year ago, 10 months ago, I led for the SNP as our justice spokesperson, and I said that there should be a diverse panel. And I think it's an absolute disgrace that it's taken so long for the Prime Minister to concede that, because it seemed to be like an absolute no-brainer. The experience of the Macpherson inquiry, which has all very much been to the forefront of our minds again on Stephen Lawrence's anniversary of his murder, shows us that in a situation such as this, you won't get to the truth with just one judge sitting in judgment, that you need a diverse panel that reflects the local community. And I say that as a lawyer. In my previous life, before I became a Member of Parliament, I used to often represent bereaved families at what we call fatal accident inquiries in Scotland. And it was my experience that unless the bereaved families had a lawyer who was fully equipped to get to the bottom of the problem, that quite often things got swept under the carpet. So although you've had your victory in terms of the diverse panel, and I applaud the people that fought for that, I think it's very important now to focus on equality of arms during the actual inquiry. And as Richard said earlier, there clearly seems to be a problem with disclosure to the lawyers representing the bereaved and the survivors, and the sooner that's sorted out, the better. Also, I think we need to put pressure on the Prime Minister and the Tory government to commit to implementing the recommendations of the inquiry and the diverse panel. I think we've come a long way in the United Kingdom, and there could never be a cover-up of the sort we had after Bloody Sunday or Hillsborough ever again. But it looked for a while last year like there was going to be a cover-up about what happened at Grenfell. I'm reasonably optimistic now with the concession on the appointment of the diverse panel that that won't happen. But I think it's really important not to be complacent, and so I think you're absolutely right that the debate should go ahead today, and I and my colleague Tommy Shepherd, who's leading for the SNP today, we will very much be focusing on the importance of making sure that there's equality of arms during the inquiry and that the recommendations are implemented. So I'd just like to say finally that last week when I met with survivors of the fire and bereaved family members, I was really quite overwhelmed by their fortitude in the face of adversity. I think this has been an incredible campaign, and I think one of the things that it uncovers is the scandal of the lack of social housing in this city. I think it's a basic human right that people should be able to have a home that they can afford in their community. And in Scotland, my colleagues in Edinburgh have managed to build a lot of social housing since the SNP came to power, despite being under the constraints of Tory austerity. So it can be done. And I think one of the things that has to come out of this tragedy is a whole renewed focus on the need for social housing in our communities, for people to live locally in the communities that they belong to across the UK. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm really encouraged by these speakers, honestly. Okay, without further ado, please, we're joined by Kensington MP. Please put your hands together for Emma Dent-Code.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for coming out this afternoon. You and all your friends, all the people who couldn't be with us today, have made history, and we're making history. We're making history here, and we're doing it for Kensington, but we're also doing it for the whole country. I was very surprised in the first few days and weeks and months of how many people get out there, whoa, hang on a minute, this is my Grenfell. No, it's not my Grenfell, it's everybody's Grenfell. Everything that has touched people in North Kensington, which is my neighbourhood, and all my friends and neighbours, many of whom I knew before, and far more of whom I've got to know afterwards, Tarek, with his fantastic cooking and his hospitality. And we've made really good friends and close relationships which will be together forever. We will never ever break that bond now. But this is more, as I said, more about Kensington, more about what happened, more about what was allowed to happen, and by the whole trail of events which is slowly but surely being unpicked in the public eye. This is about social housing everywhere, and it's about what certain people think about certain other people, and it's about how they look at them, how they disdain them, how they other them, and what they think they're worth in their lives. And we are worth, everybody, I live in social housing too, by the way, everybody, as we've just been hearing, we all want to move up to Scotland now, everybody should have a decent home over their head without a leaky roof and without black mould climbing up the walls, and safety, and no more of this flammable cladding. And I'm horrified to hear that the likely outcome of the Hackett report, which is coming out, we think next week, is that there will be no recommendation to ban flammable cladding. This is what the early indications are, and I'm absolutely horrified if that's the case. We're going to keep on fighting. Everybody deserves that safety and security of a decent home from which they can grow, their children can grow up, where they can do their homework and start their lives. And this is the beginning of our fight. Not just justice for Grenfell, but justice for everybody in social and low-cost housing. So this is our battle starting now. Thank you.
Justice for Grenfell! Justice for Grenfell! Justice for Grenfell! Justice for Grenfell! No justice! No justice! No justice! No justice! What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Justice for Grenfell! Okay, I think we're going to take a quick break just to tweak the electronics, the mic. So if people just take 5 minutes. Thank you.
Quickly, you guys going to Grenfell, or where are you going home? No, I think we're going to go. We're going to ride around. We was going to come down to Grenfell, but then there was a few complications.
We couldn't get permission from the police in time. Let's do photographs now, and we'll organise the permission for the police. And what they wanted us to do was a dry run.
So is that like a practice run? So we're going to come in one night, bring some of the guys, or not all of the guys, I'm going to let everyone know, my boys here, like we've got our own stresses of like, and when we come down, like the dry run, we can't do dry runs.
No,
like,
you can't do dry runs.
We're kids, like we're kids.
Yeah,
like,
we know
I do. We know that.
Okay, look, we'll come in. Just wait. Whose streets are streets? That's my fault. This is the anniversary. You coming to show your respect.
That was it.
You know, you manage your land.
You know that we bought like 3,000 kids to Grenfell last year though on the back.
So, you know, that's cool. That's cool. We just need to actually find a way of actually linking you into the procession, whether it's at the beginning or the end or one of, you know, how
I just don't want to lead you down our garden path and tell you that we're going to do a dry run, and I know...
No, don't worry,
we'll sort
let's
that out.
talk the logistics later on. Let's deal with, get the meeting on the go. Get this thing that just, guys, I know you're restless.
Okay, so should we just get in the middle here?
Guys, so when we go to that meeting.
So that we've got Parliament behind us. Any of you want to get on the mic and say a few words?
Come on. Anybody want to say anything about Grenfell there? Come on, Storm. You were talking, you were screaming down at the mayor's office. You can do it here too. I wasn't screaming. Yeah, but I was just sitting right behind you.
You don't have to say a lot, just a couple of things.
There's something to encourage other young people in who have died there, man.
Because I think this is all our fight.
Me? Yeah, I would say it, but...
But the young person, where's your youngest?
Let my team come and stand behind me over there.
Okay.
Let's go, man. Here you go,
You want to bring something back?
Yeah, I'll keep it back.
You bring the bags?
Yeah, bring the bags.
Yeah, bring a bike.
Are you going to bring the bags to the front?
Is it behind him?
We'll just take one bite.
Take one bite. Take one bite. Take one of the best bites.
Let's take the red one. Okay. The red one.
Red one.
Let me just...
You mind if I go with you?
I'll just tell them that you're coming, yeah? I'll just tell them that you're coming up, yeah?
Marianne?
Alright, everyone come. Hey, yo, ready? Alright, everyone come.
So, bring your bikes, make sure you're somebody's looking after your bikes.
Yeah, someone's...
I know. I'm not
Bless you. Sorry, guys. So sorry.
Red and black.
I'm hoping she didn't see my bright.
So the red, like the red and black one.
And they play football, so I always be like, yeah. Like I say, but you know.
I don't play for this riding actually. Yeah, the place for this riding. I don't think I know how much riding is. A couple of us.
Hey, now I have to cover my face and that. No, don't do that. You ain't gonna get lucky. Hey, come my young boys. Come on. My young boys come.
You should have pushed it back. I'm gonna get bad taste later.
Could you just take a quick photograph of me? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's life. I'm gonna train you.
Thank you so much for coming back together again to just finish up as we go. We've got some incredible young people at the front here, and may I speak to Mac? Where is Mac? Sorry, I don't want to step on. Hi Mac, just maybe 5 minutes or so, just talk to us a little bit about your story and why you're here to support.
Good afternoon everyone. It's great to see whoever made it out here today to support. It's great to see you. I wish I could see more faces. My name's Mac Ferrari Guy. I'm standing here with all my riders that yeah, we take over the city, we ride out. You may have seen us with our wheels in the air. We're out here to like put knives down, pick your bikes up, live a good life, don't step out with bad intentions. The ride that we started was called Bike Storms. It started 4 years ago, and we bring out like 4,000 kids each time we ride. All these kids are going through the stresses, the pain. Like a lot of our kids that was riding on our ride outs either knew people in Grenfell or live very close to Grenfell. It was a major effect. So last year I think we went out and we came out to Grenfell. There was about 2,000 to 3,000 of us, and we all showed our respects for Grenfell. Like I say, the news and the media, they don't report these things. We were the kids, we was crying out. No one's listening out here. So all we do is just try and build awareness for like things that's going on at Grenfell, other things in the world, other things that's not getting attention, and we do it in numbers. I think all of us out here came together, but I think we need to go harder as people and like phone your aunties, phone your cousins, and phone everyone and tell them, listen, forget work today, forget everything, and I don't want to hear it, because it could have been any one of us that got affected. Any one of us. So what we need to do is understand that these people that we're trying to talk to, they're not going to come off their yachts or their private jets until you start affecting what they put in our face every morning, and that is the FTSE 100. Until you stop going into Tesco's working, until you stop paying for this petrol just for 2 days. All you need is 2 days for these important people to get called out of their important offices, whether they're black, white, Indian, it don't matter. They're important, they're calling the shots, we need their attention. They're not getting off their boat for this. For nothing here. They're not getting off their boats for this. This is not making them come out. All it's doing is showing us that we've got love amongst us. And we build this love, we spread this love every day. Don't just let it be here. My riders out here, we've been riding for 4 years. People don't like us sometimes, but do you know what? We ride with love and we ride with a peace, and all we want is everyone out here to love each other. And these are the youngers doing it. So like right now, I'm about to pass the mic to Issa. He's one of our youngers. He's the most like inspirational younger that I know. This is Kizzy, this is Jamie. We know each other by first name basis. This ain't no act. We don't do it for the cameras. We want you to Grenfell to know that we love you, and for everyone who lost someone in that fire that night, we are sorry. But if we really want change, we have to make real change, and we have to really be a nuisance. And not a bad nuisance. I'm not saying go to police and start saying F you to the government. I'm just saying stand there in silence, because numbers is everything and we don't move. We've got women, we've got men, we've got chefs that can cook, that can bring food, and we need to stay here, grow it. But everyone's scared, everyone's got commitments, we've all got a job interview tomorrow, we've all got something we've got to do. But if we want changes, don't just make it this protest. Don't just come down there and talk about. That's why, thank you for introducing me as Bike Storms, but forget what I do, innit? Like, it's about what's going to happen tomorrow. What I've done is not going to change nothing. It's what's happening tomorrow. We can all do it. We can all be a Mac. We can all be a Kizzy. We can all be yourself. But keep it going. Do you get what I'm saying? So let my younger talk, because he's the most important. How old are you? 19? Let him talk and see what he's saying.
I'd just like to say quickly that I'd like to thank the organisers of this event, because it's been a real awakening for me. Because back after Grenfell, I was there like in the months after, I was campaigning, I was going to the rallies, but then I kind of tuned out of the story. I just thought everything was being sorted out quietly. But to come back and find out that no one has gone to jail, no one has been held accountable, they're still thinking about having the cladding still be legal after all that time, I'm shocked, and it's reinvigorated the fire in me to carry on like supporting the campaign, because I tuned out of the story, you know, and that was wrong of me. So this has been like a big awakening to find out that all this injustice is still happening, and I'd like to just say everyone carry on fighting, and hopefully we could push this change to happen, because it's a travesty what's happening right now, man.
Yo, my riders, Grenfell! After one, Grenfell! Come on, sis, Grenfell! Riders, come on, love, 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 love.
Thank you so much, guys. Please put your hands together for everyone on stage. Thank you.
Justice for Grenfell! 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 Justice for Grenfell!
Thank you so much, guys. As always, it's really lovely to hear young voices on the microphone, isn't it? Sorry, and I'm getting squashed. Thank you, guys. Next to the stage, it's a real honour to introduce MP Diana Abbott.
It's a pleasure to be here to show my undying support for justice for Grenfell. I'm going to go in a few minutes to the debate, but I wanted to come and speak here. And the first thing to say that it's important to congratulate all of you for your campaign to have panel members, but announcing there are going to be panel members is not enough. We need to know who they are going to be. What made the difference in the Stephen Lawrence inquiry was the actual people that served on the panel. If they just have puppets on the panel, that is not going to help anybody.
Not good enough.
So obviously there's immediate issues about the welfare of the survivors and the bereaved, notably housing, and the fact is that many of you, I think most of you, are still in hotels, and I know that homes have been promised, but we want to see this through to make sure you do actually get the quality homes you deserve. But the long-running issue is how this happened, who is going to take responsibility, and what is government going to do to make sure it never happens again. And you can talk about the cladding, you can talk about the regulations, but there's also an attitude to communities that needs to be exposed and needs to be eliminated. And I think it's those underlying issues about who has power and how they use it that are so important. So I'm here to say that I will be supporting you to the end, because it's so important. Because the thing about Grenfell is that it's more than the sum of its parts. It's an issue for everybody nationally, and that's why we have to get it right. And then I'm going to go in a few minutes to take part in the debate. But wishing you all the best of luck, wishing when I see some of you in a few months you really will be in the accommodation that you've been promised. And we need to fight not just for justice for Grenfell, but for justice for communities. And I know this fight can be won. We saw with Windrush how a group of elderly people that they thought they could do anything to, actually it resulted in the Home Secretary having to resign. With a little help from myself, I must say. And we're fighting, yeah, I know. And we're fighting on for proper compensation for the Grenfell generation. So we know this type of fight can be won, and I intend to be with you until you win this fight. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure now to invite on someone whose face reminds me of early days volunteering. Please put your hands together for a huge voice in the community. It's Niles.
Yes, greetings family, greetings. We have a saying, when the rhythm changes, so does the dance. Yeah, and I just want you to join in with me again, some energy. So I say, when the rhythm changes, see, you're not convincing. When the rhythm changes, when the rhythm changes, all right. So this is what I'm saying. In this situation, yeah, we have to learn collectively now who our enemy is. Yeah, how they think, what they do, because they've been doing it for hundreds of years. Now, for us to expect them for that behavior to change overnight, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen without us continuing to force them into positions where they have to do what the people demand. If you agree, say Ashe. All right. Now, I'm going to do that again because I want to see if you really agree or not, because we need to start demanding, yeah, what we want as a collective to happen in this situation, yeah? We need to stop turning up to all of the things that are set up, that are set to confuse us and divide and rule us, yeah? All right? There's a lot of co-option going on. There's a lot of things going on, and we need to understand how the system works. Yeah, from my perspective, seeing what's going on right now, we're holding the same position that we held on the 14th of June. Yeah, on the 14th of June, all of the community had to come together, and we did something spontaneously that sowed a seed that we need to nurture, because it's still growing. You understand? It's trying to burst out of its shell and become that independence, become that new phase, that new paradigm, yeah? And I know a lot of us are not sure what's going on right now, but what I'm saying is we're in that period of before we burst out of the shell. Do you understand what I'm saying? And now is the time where we have to come together. We keep talking about unity, but what are the ingredients of unity? You know, if I'm going to cook a red pea soup, I need to know what I'm putting in it in order to get that result, right? So let's start thinking about what are the ingredients of unity, so that we can move forward and actually take on the system that has set things in place, yeah? That if we just follow its procedures and its protocols, we'll get nothing out of it, yeah? There's times when we have to break protocol, and then we have to refuse to take part, yeah, in the things that have been set up deliberately to make sure that we don't get justice. Yeah? So what I'm saying is, yeah, a man called Sun Tzu once said, yeah, if you know your enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 1,000 battles. This is what I'm saying. Let's educate ourselves, let's educate our community, especially the young people that's come up now, yeah, because they've woken up. Do you understand? And we all, you know, we got our positions that we take and everything, but we got to look at the youth, and we got to look at how we also adapt. Do you understand what I'm saying? As elders, yeah? We also have to adapt to the situation in order to move forward and to create this new paradigm, because everyone has to be involved. We know it's the young people that's been changing and moving things in terms of the voting patterns, yeah? When they disengage, then nothing ain't going to change. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah? All right, so a minute's silence is going to happen now, right?
Sorry to interrupt, Niles. We're just going to take a minute silence. The debate is about to begin in Parliament, and so I put a minute and 12 seconds on the clock to remember the 72 lives that we lost in Grenfell Tower fire. Thank you very much.
Sure. That's it. All right. So I'm not gonna carry on much longer. Just also say, let peace and blessings and let the people that are in transition go through the transition fully to be in peace, and let us be part of that process. Yeah, in peace, love, and unity as always. Yeah. We need to actually just take a pause now, yeah, and think about that silence, yeah, because the silence is a powerful thing, and within that silence is something has been created that creates a discipline amongst us and a oneness that is very rare. What we got to think about now is how we harness that energy in the spaces where we come together to plan and move forward. How can we bring that energy into that space, yeah, where when we marching, we're just one, and the system can see that, yeah, they can see the oneness, yeah. Now we need to take that energy and we need to galvanize that oneness that comes out of that silence march into the other areas that we're dealing with, so we can create the change that's necessary. And don't believe that the people across the road, yeah, have more power than we have. Don't believe that for a minute. What they've done for a very long time is sit on top of a system that gives them power and privilege to appear to be more powerful than we are. But many times we have shown, yeah, that when you stand in your power, yeah, and you stand in the truth, yeah, it's just like the Wizard of Oz, yeah, the yellow brick road, that little guy behind the big machine who's like, no, if you take the machine away, let's keep doing that, man. You understand what I'm saying? And remember, vampires don't like sunlight. One love, people. Bless up.
Thank you, Niles. Thank you so much. We've got a few more speakers, but without further ado, a representative for Stand Up to Racism, please put your hands together for Naima.
I think, like, it's amazing that everyone's here, but I think if you look over there, look at the people who lost their lives. What do you see so common? The people of colour, people of ethnicity. And what names do you see? You see it was predominantly Muslim names. It was a large majority, a Muslim community who died in that tower. People who came to this country for a better world, for a better life, had to live there and had to face that. I think now more than ever you see the hostile environment our government has created for migrants and refugees. That they constantly attack our communities. They attack the Muslim communities. I remember just afterwards, after Grenfell, they were saying, oh, look at the Muslim community coming out together helping. But at the same time, they were demonizing them, using Islamophobia constantly. And I think you see it again now with the attack on the Windrush generation. Kensington is such a major community for African-Caribbean community, and you see the attack on them, and you see the attack on the Muslim community. It's an attack on race. It's racist. It's really, truly. It's an attack on class. And most of those people who live there, and most of the working class in this country, are people of ethnicity. And we have to say that these people are the ones who make our country what it is. These are the people who build our NHS. These are the people who maintain our NHS. These are the people who keep our schools going. These are the people who make it better, are not the people who are taking it away. They constantly use that narrative that it's migrants who are taking our houses, who are taking our services in the NHS. But really, truly, it's the cuts of the Tory government. We should be pointing fingers at them and not pointing fingers at each other. We should be standing in unity. And it's important that we demonstrate and we come out together month in, month out, and next month it'll be the 1 year anniversary, and we should be marching together. It's 25 years since the murder of Stephen Lawrence, 50 years since the assassination of Martin Luther King. When we come together, when we march together, that's when we make change together. We should be saying no to racism. We should be saying justice for Grenfell and justice for every other human being who has suffered under the cuts of our Tory government. Thank you.
So much, Naima. Our second to last speaker, but definitely someone who is a real privilege to interview and to ask up. Sorry, not interview. But just to say a quick thing. You know, when I first started becoming a volunteer and I saw Moira, I was just so stunned. And when we held the Christmas for Grenfell campaign, I was stunned again to see that this lady can be on the front line, but also be packing boxes and doing so much for her community. So it's a real pleasure to have you here with us today. Please put your hands together for Moira.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to try, hopefully the mic's going to work. I'm going to try not to repeat a lot of what people have said, but just to remind ourselves why we're here today. We should not have had to have this fight for a diverse decision-making panel. It's a bloody disgrace that it's taken Justice for Grenfell, who raised this in August. It's taken Grenfell United and their petition, and it's taken Stormzy to get that petition over the 100,000 for Theresa May, for a debate to actually be triggered. And then Theresa May graciously grants us 2 extra advisors, 2 extra panel members. And what I say is, people, as everybody has said, why do we keep having to beg? Why do we keep having to ask on our bended knees? This is about justice and fairness. And therefore, she should have, it was in her gift, and she should have granted this in December. We would not have been here now. People, the survivors and the bereaved families would not have had to go through what they've gone through. But we're here now, and there are extra panel members. They are questions, and I think we all know what the questions are. How are they going to be selected? Why are they only sitting on the second phase? Why are they not going to be sitting next week when the actual public inquiry opens? There are a lot of questions, which means that we still need to know that when that public inquiry opens, we need to have confidence that justice is going to be served. But over and above that, let's go back to the community. Let's go back to what's happening to the survivors. Housing. Everybody's talked about housing and the importance of housing. The group that still have not been housed and are at the bottom of the priority list, believe it or not, people, are those elderly people with disabilities and disability families, in particular people with disabilities, single parent families. Why are they the last on the list to be housed? You know why? Because Kensington and Chelsea says we don't have any homes to accommodate people with disabilities. It's absolutely disgraceful, and it goes to the heart not just of social housing, but how the council that we live in actually prioritizes people. you know, everybody in particular order, everybody who have needs, the vulnerable, they don't care. So I think that is the first thing that we are here for, to continue to campaign for. Those households, those 12 households, need to be housed ASAP, and with no more excuses. We don't want to hear excuses about you don't have flats that are disability adapted. Find them, spend the money on them, and give people decent houses to live in. If the council are not able to do that, then I say, you've been newly elected. You obviously, right from the start, not fit for purpose. And therefore you need to go. You need to be put into special measures. You need to be scrutinized, because this community will not put up with this anymore. Okay, finally, can I say that actually we have in our silent march, as we do every month, and I would encourage everybody to join us, where we honor and celebrate the lives of people who we've lost. But also, the fight is not over yet. The fight has not even yet begun. And therefore, I'll encourage everybody to join Justice for Grenfell on our protest on the 16th of June. We're determined to take the fight to the government. We're determined to take the fight to them. We are no longer going to stay and ask nicely. We're actually going to, together with the unions, we are going to actually go to Downing Street on the 16th, and so I'll ask everybody to join us. Bring your banners, come with your union colleagues, come with your housing colleagues, come with your friends, young and old. Let's make noise on the anniversary to remind Theresa May, to remind this government that actually we will not be silenced, we haven't gone away, and we will not be silenced till we have justice. Because look over there, people, that Big Ben has been covered. Has Grenfell Tower been covered? No. It's still not covered. They could cover that as quickly as they needed to. We are tired of the inequalities in communities. We will continue to fight so that actually we get greater equality, and we stop the focus on money going one way from us to them. So we say justice for Grenfell. Justice for Grenfell. Justice for Grenfell. Justice for Grenfell. No justice. No justice. No justice. Tasha.
Thank you so much. Please put your hands together one more time for Moira. Thank you so much. Yes, we've come right to the end, but before we close, it's really important that we speak to a member from Grenfell United. Please put your hands together for Natasha.
Hi everyone. First and foremost, thank you for everyone that's turned out today. You know, 14th of June last year, something that should never have happened. But what's kept Grenfell United, the community, the bereaved survivors going is the public support. It's a bittersweet pill to stand here and stand outside the Houses of Parliament knowing that a debate's going on inside with MPs. You know, and Grenfell United are really grateful for every single person's support. And this fight is just beginning. The Prime Minister gave us additional panel members on Friday, but there's so much more to this. You know, there's survivors still living in hotels and in temporary accommodation. And despite what you may read out there in the media, despite what you may think, you know, these people have chosen permanent homes. They're just not ready. And for me, that's unacceptable. And then we look at those people living in tower blocks with cladding. Should they go to sleep tonight with that cladding on that building? Should fire wardens be patrolling their estates, you know, trying to keep them safe? Absolutely not. And then we go on to the public inquiry. What will the public inquiry bring? We don't want to wait 3-4 years for recommendations to be put into place. We want, as and when recommendations come up, that the government take action. That for us is really important, because Grenfell should never have happened, and it should never, 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 never have to happen to anybody. No one should go through what Grenfell United, the community of North Kensington, and those communities that are living out there with cladding on their tower blocks, no one should have to go through this. And I urge every single MP, Grenfell United did a big parliamentary event last week here. Over 100 MPs promised their support, and we hope today they deliver that. Grenfell must never be forgotten. 72 people died as a result of that fire, and if one thing's for certain, we will continue to add pressure where we can to ensure that those people didn't die for no reason. Thank you. No justice! No justice! No justice! Grenfell! Grenfell! Theresa May, if you can hear us, we're not going nowhere!
Thank you so much, Natasha. Please put your hands together again for Natasha. We've come to the end of the rally, but first of all, please put your hands together for yourselves for turning out. Thank you so much for your support. Tonight is the silent walk kicking off from 7 p.m. outside the Notting Hill Methodist Church. Please do come down. I can't tell you how powerful it is to be joined as one community, to walk together and to show you respect for those, yes, we did lose, and for the people that we bring back for as well. So thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you, and we hope to see you this evening. Good night.
Go as far as it can.
On the Friday after Grenfell, I was a registered volunteer trying to help the community.
I dare say that
I ended up speaking with John Snow outside Grenfell.
But we can't countenance any
press lied.
Any recommendations.
They tried to say that they said that I was a resident of the tower.
Nothing too difficult.
I'm not.
In this case,
I didn't say that.
There can be no
press presumed, and they lied.
Now, while speaking to Grenfell,
trying to get the justice that I want, and the justice for Grenfell that we all deserve.
I heard from some residents that some people are still unable to move into new homes for a number of reasons.
Come take over everything from your community.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to
We give it to you for free, you know. Those are not gas chambers. He said non-lethal 3 times. So now you elaborate, because you've slandered me, you've slandered Tan, and you've been lying left, right, and centre. No, you don't need to look at that.
You should be slandered.
So
you are nobody. Can I have this?
You are nobody. It's mine.
I'll give it back to you.
It's mine. No,
I'll give it back to you. Why not? Why not?
Why do you want it?
You are nobody.
This
is Stan Ward. This is Stan Ward.
You lie anyway. You lie anyway.
I need to have
You lie anyway.
He wanted to exterminate.
You lie anyway.